So now I'm going to play a recorded interview from this week with AHMED GAYA from Rising Tide North America, who was in Paris for the COP21 leading organizer and leading a protest called the Toxic Tour, it was called, on how the corporations are trying to whitewash their image to pretend to make themselves seem like they're for the climate. So here's that interview. Okay, this is a recorded interview with AHMED GAYA of the North American,
Rising Tide North America.
Right, Rising Tide North America. And you spent time in Paris for the COP21, supposed climate, the UN climate conference, and you're trying to bring to light, you and a bunch of other protests were trying to bring to light the corporate owned, or the corporate takeover, corporate co-opting of this event, and it was called Solutions. This corporate sponsored, they were calling it Solutions, and you and other protesters were trying to, just show that all these corporations are just trying to, greenwash their images and, make themselves out to be environmentally friendly. And so talk about your time there.
Well, we have been a number of goals in Paris, but one of the things that the Rising Tide Network was founded around, we actually started in 2000 around the COP7 negotiations in The Hague in the Netherlands, and it was an international network of climate justice activists. It was founded to confront the corporate takeover of solutions to climate change. So corporations began to have more and more influence within the talks, oftentimes more influence than many of the vulnerable nations that are being impacted by climate change, and pushing false solutions which would sacrifice the global north, or the global south, in the pursuit of maintaining corporate profits, things like carbon trading, carbon offsets, reducing emissions due to deforestation, which sounds like a great idea, but is actually about stealing land from indigenous communities. The Smoke Water Network was founded about 15 years ago, almost 16 years ago now, and so it's very much in line with what we've always been doing to look at when we got to Paris, and we're meeting with some of our international partners like Corporate Europe Observatory, their analysis of the corporate takeover of the COP21 negotiations. And one of the things they pointed out as kind of the classic, most egregious examples of this was this expo being held in the Grand Palais. The Grand Palais is in the center of Paris. It's one of the old, historic, iconic buildings of Paris. It holds like really high-level exhibits. So immediately after this Solutions 21 Expo, holding a Picasso exhibit. It's a very iconic piece of European culture, kind of in the cultural capital of Europe. And inside of that was this expo called Solutions 21, tied in and around the COP, very much tied into the climate talks. Solutions 21 was supposedly an expo solutions to climate change that was being sponsored and put on by some of the dirtiest and largest energy companies in France and Europe. So it was folks like Engie, who used to be GDF students, which recently changed their name. They're France's largest coal company. They operate I believe, the oldest and most inefficient series of coal-fired power plants in all of France, if not all of Europe. They're massive plants to expand fossil fuels around the world. They operate coal-fired power plants and mines in Australia and India as well. Companies like Suez, who both are massively involved in the privatization of water, but also are working to open up fracking across Europe for fracked gas. And then other kind of classical, kind of villain corporations like Coca-Cola, or Veolia, which is both involved in the privatization of water and the privatization of transportation, and then car companies like Renault, Nissan. So all these companies, which are some of the classic contributors to climate change, the people that are lobbying against a strong agreement, were holding an expo alongside the French government, portraying themselves as the saviors of the climate, and the people that are going to bring the solutions. And so we decided, our partners in Europe decided, and we joined them, that they would disrupt this expo with the goal of shutting it down on its first day. So they were going to have this grand opening on December 4th. A lot of media attention. The French agricultural minister was going to be there. There's a bunch of biofuels and GMO companies like AHMED, which is one of the largest biofuels player in Europe, that are also going to be there, as well as the French finance minister, as well as most of the major European banks were also exhibiting. The banks like BNP Paribas that are both funding the climate talks and also, on the other hand, massively invested in the fossil fuel sector and putting out reports that there will be no, strong climate action, and that their investments are long-term in the long-term development of coal, oil, and gas. So there's a bevy of evil characters coming together. We said we would shut down their grand opening, we would totally ruin their day on the 4th, and then encourage folks to disrupt the event every day that it was open after that.
And it was called the Toxic Tour.
Pardon me, a little bit of the water. There were several stages of the action. The first stage, the one that myself and most of the internationals were involved in, were toxic tours. So we got a large number of people into the event, which was in itself quite challenging. We had publicly announced, we called for hundreds of people to come and help us shut down the event. The original plan was to hold a large protest and blockade outside of the Grand Palais, blocking the doors. But after the state of emergency, the terrorist attacks in France on November 13th, and the state of emergency, that totally changed the political and legal landscape of what we could do. And it was becoming very clear that was not going to be possible. So we switched to trying to get folks inside the event. We invited folks to come, to dress like a tourist, or business casual, to go to free to the public, open event, to go inside, and then we would do something that they could participate in that would be a critical visit. And the lowest level of that was holding a toxic tour, where we traveled to a number of the different stands. We had folks from frontline communities, both in Europe, and then myself and my friend Zoe from Australia, with really powerful activists from Australia. We led an international English-speaking bloc of Americans and Australian and Indigenous folks from North America and from the Pacific Islands who are fighting some of these companies to tell a counter-narrative to the one they were telling about how they're the solution to climate change, about how they're wrecking communities with their fossil projects around the world.
And you were pointing out during the Toxic Tour that this NG company, the largest coal company and the oldest one in France, bless you, is actually, it's kind of appropriate, I feel like, that you have a cold while we're talking about the climate. 2.5 million euros to lobby against emission standards in France.
In 2014 alone.
In 2014. I mean, right, and that they actually paid money to be a part of this solutions part of the conference.
And the money that they paid to be part of the solutions conference doesn't just buy them a booth within the Grand Palais. They were the highest level package, which these sponsors like NG, Renault, Nissan, which is also the president of the European Auto Association, which is heavily, again, lobbying against emission standards for cars, lobbying against climate action, which was another one of the highest level sponsors of the event. Veolia, Suez, and other companies are very invested in the privatization of public assets like water. Also, high level sponsors, they paid 250,000 euros. And for that money, they got not only a booth in the Solution 21, but they also get high-level cocktail parties that they host with negotiators. They also get individual audiences and meetings with climate negotiators and access to the talks happening up at the Brochet. So it's essentially the very classic pay-to-play system where they pay 20 or 50,000 euros for a booth at this event plus political influence.
I mean, I have to just point out the obvious in that, it's just kind of blatantly hypocritical to be talking about the climate and moving closer towards, natural and environmental solutions while these people are accepting money, which does not come from nature, like that obvious thing that money is not a natural thing, and yet, right, they accept it from these corporations to find supposed environmental solutions.
Well, I mean, it's just an example of how corrupted the entire UN climate process has become by a corporate takeover, and how we can't put our faith in that process to solve the climate crisis. Really no longer a meeting of world leaders attempting to deal with the crisis they're facing. It's a meeting of business, industry, and political and economic elites trying to figure out how they can perpetuate the economic and political status quo of capitalism and colonialism. And that's why you see, ever since, really going back to 2000, going back to the 7th COP 14 years ago, 15 years ago, in Tehran, a massive corporate takeover. You've seen events like Solutions 21 pop up in the last few years in Warsaw. Just a few years ago, the entire COP was sponsored by the Polish coal industry. So I think there's been a broken faith in the entire UN process, and it's a recognition that we can't look to these political leaders that are completely captured by the business interests to bring about solutions. We need to propose and push for people's solutions with mass movement. That's what you saw on the same day that they announced what they're calling a historic agreement in Paris, which is really an agreement to trample indigenous rights and burn the planet. We saw tens of thousands of people take to the streets of Paris in a really bold defiance of a severe crackdown on protests, a protest ban, in fact, to protest and demonstrate against the destruction of our planet that's being signed into by pretty much every country in the world.
Right, and so there was also a Pasco Sabito who was there with a corporation, Europe Observance, and he was talking about the intimidating amount of security that was there, and he ended up getting carried away by them, like literally. And then you talked about, this is all on Democracy Now. You were trying to go to the, I believe it was the Veolia booth when you kind of got kettled by security. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was actually very interesting. Security, for one, just getting into the building, as you can see from Pasco's interview, it was a very intimidating process. We arrived, there were, granted, there were 3 levels of police and for the state of emergency, and in all 3 rounds of force outside of the building, there were COS, who were sort of like the military police in their riot gear and armor, many of whom armed with live weapons. There were also military in the street with some of their military vehicles, and a very, very large number, several hundred at least, COS, police officers, guarding the Grand Palais. And then to get in, you had to go through multiple different security screenings. So you had to go through a pat down, you had to go through another screening, you had to go through a secondary pat down, you had to go through a metal detector or a body scanner, more intense than airport security, but in many ways. And this was to go to an event that was widely publicized, advertising in all the metros, free and open to the public. So they were very, very intense security. Those quite intimidating. And then once inside, there were dozens of security officers that were marked, and also probably at least 100, maybe 150 undercover security officers. Those are the folks in the videos you see with the orange armbands on. So we started the tours. Many people, we were a little bit noisier than some others many people were inside giving interviews, talking about the booth, about the event. Obviously, the grand media spectacle of the day. That was the whole point of the grand opening. So we had announced publicly we were going to make critical visits. So we did. We began to speak. We began to talk a little bit loud, but really not in a way that was actually disruptive, except that large numbers of people in the building wanted to hear what we had to say because we were the only people in the space making any kind of critical analysis of the space. And a lot of the reporters that you've seen from interviews were kind of really surprised and upset at the event because it was just a trade fair. It was in no way, shape, or form really kind of portraying any kind of transformative change that it comes to. And very quickly, we were able to make our first stop at NG. We walked over, we got about halfway to the booth Suez, and then without any warning, without any communication to us, undercover police officers simply surrounded us. They linked arms, they held us in, they surrounded and kettled journalists, they surrounded and kettled a number of random participants at the event who were just, we were speaking to the media, we were talking to the news, and they wanted to hear what we had to say. They were surrounded and kettled, and very quickly after that, so we attempted to go to Suez, we decided to stop and just speak in the middle of the floor, we stayed form in line, we started moving towards Veolia, we realized we were totally kettled. And some of the French journalists and some of the participants, actually not initially folks from our group, began to very loudly argue and scuffle a little bit with the French police inside because they were outraged that for just attending the event, for being a journalist, for filming, someone who was speaking vaguely critical about the event, that they were going to be detained by police. It was just, France is not doesn't have the kind of militarized police force that the United States does, which is why in the state of emergency you saw the army in the streets. And they just don't have the culture of police acting in the kind of arbitrary and violent ways that we do in the US. So this, which to us, the states was, from the US and Australia was uncommon, but not totally surprising, completely shocking to the French media. They were extremely upset, and so things got quite chaotic initially. And then I was tackled by several French police officers and carried out. And then shortly afterwards, they just once again never communicating with any of us, never telling us to stop, never telling us if there was any problem or no words to any of us. Just immediately began tackling people, carrying people out. Sometimes people who were just spectators, people who didn't say a word. And then definitely anyone who spoke to any camera or was interviewed for any reason. Some of those folks were in there to protest the event. Many of those folks were journalists. Many of those folks were just, bystanders that were being interviewed by journalists, the bystanders that were commenting on what was going on. And as the situation deteriorated, as more people were carried out, more people became upset. Some of them were argued, but many participants. And the situation got more and more out of control. And eventually, they just protests started happening outside the building as well. Several hundred people who were not able to get in, who had come, began holding a protest outside, blocking the doors. One individual scaled the lampposts outside and dropped a banner from the lampposts, and that was a big spectacle for a while. The police tried to remove him, and people tried to interfere with the police removing him. And with this chaos on the outside and chaos on the inside, they were forced to shut down the event for the day.
Yeah, there was a French journalist, Sabina Sissou, or her last name was, and she was like literally appalled at what she saw. She said she'd never seen anything like that before, and then also. I assume he was an American guy who was just basically a spectator who started speaking out about just being a spectator and wanting to know what was going on, and he got surrounded by the police and actually carried away, literally.
Yeah. A number of media have spoken to us after that video came out and said that he must have been one of your people it was a plant, right? That was an act. And it was like, I have no idea who that person was. He was definitely not part of our group. He was totally a random spectator. And it wasn't so ironic because he was just saying, this is really outrageous. If anyone says anything critical, they just get arrested. And as he was saying that, French police officers came over and arrested.
Right. I know. Yeah, it was pretty. It's completely like daunting. But I wanted like the public and the people that were attending these events, thinking that they were legitimate. What was their response to your presence being there?
Well, I think if you look at the videos, like we simply put a sign in the air that said English tours and said we're going to do a toxic tour. You want to come over, and within a few minutes we had 50, 100 people. Many of the media, many of them ran. So I think first is like the interest in just the critical analysis that we had. There was a lot of people who came to that, I think, and were skeptical and were very eager to hear a critical analysis of it. And then once the police began to escalate in a really outrageous way that they did, I think that really told our story for us. The fact that the event was so ridiculous that even a short speech about what the problems of the event was so threatening to them that they had to rush in and carry people out around and shut down the whole event so no one could hear. Like, it really upset a lot of people. It really exposed the fraud, and I think they did our job for us. Honestly, if the police had left us alone, we would have given the tour for 20 minutes and then left. And it wouldn't have been like this grand spectacle that was created. But the police escalation is, and as is many times in direct action, is the thing that created the story, that created the exposure of the fraud of the event.
And so I guess we'll make this the last point because I think we're running out of time. So like where do you see things going? I mean, you said that it has to come from the people, and that's like a common theme in most interviews that I do. Naturally, it's not going to come from leaders. Naturally, it's not going to come from corporations, and so reaching out to the public and the attendees that were showing up for this conference. I mean, clearly it's not. You can tell. It kind of like boggles my mind today that people cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. I mean, we're so used to living in corporate world, and people are so used to having money in everything and walking into this palace like you described. I mean, right. So walking into a palace like that with a Picasso event and all of that, I mean, does that really seem like a real grassroots way of dealing with climate change to like the average person? And to some, I hate to admit the answer is yes. Instead of seeing people like yourself and the other protesters, you guys are the genuine people that care about climate change, obviously. And yet you're the ones being carried off.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I said before, the entire political, international social process or dealing with climate change has been corrupted by corporate influence. It's been a process that fossil fuel companies, the finance industry, car companies, elsewhere, the airline industry has been engaged in over the last 15 years, and that process, we got a promise to keep the planet to 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, and a plan to burn it at 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. So that's actually the actual plan we've committed to. It's a plan to burn the planet. And that process is not going to yield us something. So I think what is really, though, been surprising and has been exciting is the way in which international social movements are growing and networking and coming together. The Klimaatmakian coalition, the international and European coalition that came together to mobilize around COP21 was really an unprecedented showing of civil society, of faith groups, of unions, of environmental groups from across Europe and then also across the world, kind of trying to find a way to build a civil society response to this, political catastrophe. And at the same time, we from AHMED North America and many of our allies in Europe, one of the main reasons we went to Paris was to meet and network with and build with our international partners around the world, which we're continuing to do, building kind of a level of international grassroots infrastructure. So it's not looking to influence these political processes. It's not looking to get inside and make small changes to what's happening in the negotiations at the next COP, but is really seriously thinking about, boycotting the political process altogether next year and holding our own events and really having coordinated pushes across our own countries to bring about the changes that we actually need. I think that's where we're going to see exciting things, not these negotiations, but this kind of level of social movement coordination internationally. And one of the places that's going to happen is this May. We're going to see the largest mass mobilization globally against fossil fuel infrastructure and political and economic decision makers that's put into place. And this large mobilization has been called for by a number of organizations and movements around the world called Break Free from Fossil Fuels. We're going to see mass civil disobedience across many parts of the global north and global south. We're going to see huge mobilizations in other countries. So that'll be very exciting to watch. Once again, it's May 8th to 15th, called Break Free from Fossil Fuels. We'll be putting on some huge events here in the United States and Canada around that. And then also kind of looking to the World Social Forum in Montreal at the end of this year as an alternative to these political processes that we mobilize, but look at what are the spaces that we can build within our own civil society and social movements, which are counters and alternatives to the political spaces that are built.
And would that be the name of the website, Break Free from Fossil Fuels? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, the website is breakfree2016.org.
Breakfree2016.org. Okay, thank you so much, AHMED GAYA of the Rising Tide North America, who was live in Paris for the COP21. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you at the Break Free from Fossil Fuel.
Hopefully?
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much, Captain.
Take care. Happy holiday.
You as well.
Bye. Okay, so that was AHMED GAYA of Rising Tide North America, and the last segment is John Perkins, the former economic hitman, on his new book, New Confessions of an Economic Hitman, recorded interview from this week. Okay, this is a pre-recorded interview with John Perkins, a former economic hitman who wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman and Hoodwinked, to be played for Organic News on Awake Radio Tuesday, December the 22nd. So thank you, John Perkins, for joining me.
It's great to be with you, Catherine. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, I just wanted to do, I wanted to kind of get maybe into a habit with you of doing just sort of like short bites, because, there's so much going on and there's so much to keep up with. And, you're kind of, at the core of all of this, which you call the corporatocracy. And, so just to compare how it was when you were in it and now what it's morphed into today, and how it's connected to so much of what is happening currently, with things like ISIS and the Paris attacks and things like that. And also other current events that are happening around the world and in this country that that just actually happened recently. And so the first thing that I was going to ask you was going to be about the remarks. They were talking about it on Democracy Now! When the commentator at the GOP, Hugh Hewitt, asked Ben Carson about being that he's a doctor, a neurosurgeon, would he be able to, be tough and kill innocent children? And then his exact words were, "That's what war is."
That's pretty discouraging, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I think it's a very sad state of affairs. I wrote in the first Confessions of an Economic Hitman, so the new Confessions of an Economic Hitman is coming out in February, but the original, which was published in 2004, I wrote about how back at the time of the overthrow of Mossadegh in Iran in the early 1950s, it was so successful, done by an economic hitman, a government overthrown with very little money, no threat of war. And after that, it kept getting more and more that way. So when I was an economic hitman in the 70s, it seemed as though we lost major defeat in Vietnam. And basically, that told us that our way of militarizing wasn't working. It didn't work against the Viet Cong. And there was a new approach to spreading our way of life around the world, and that was basically through economic hitman, with a de-emphasis on war and military. And, since that book has been written, it really began before the book came out, right after 9/11. It's just gone the other way once again. And I find it very, in a way, discouraging. Not that I like the economic hitman approach, but now we've got both. We've got the huge economic hitman approach. We've got more economic hitmen out there than ever, putting countries deep into debt. We've got the Chinese involved in doing something very similar. And at the same time, we've really escalated war. The United States, nobody else knows this, the United States has really escalated the military aspect. And in that process, we've seen huge blowback. We've seen ISIS get stronger. We've seen radicalism becoming more radical. And so there's been this re-escalation of violence around the world. And we see it in our own cities now, too, of course. We see that, the tension between different ethnic groups and police and all the massive shootings that are going on. So violence has taken a huge new step forward. And that's really happened since the time Confessions of an Economic Hitman was published, or you might say since 9/11.
And so the next thing that I wanted to ask you was, in this debate with the GOP, a question was asked to Trump from a student on video about his remarks about killing the families of ISIS members, and Trump saying that you have to be tough. There's always this emphasis on being tough. Not showing it. Oh, we're gonna look weak. Always talking about looking weak, and we have to be tough. And then Trump went on to say something about Saudi families being allowed to leave the United States. Of course, he didn't say who helped them to leave, so that they could go home and, watch their relatives in terrorism, something to that effect, he said. But his comment on killing families of ISIS members.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to be part of a country that where people can run for president and be taken seriously, who look at the world through those kind of crazed eyes. I find it very, very sad. I grew up in a time when Westerns were very popular on television and in movies. And one of the things that many Westerns pointed out was that everybody goes after the fast guy, the tough guy. If you kill people in gun duels, somebody's always out to get you. And that's kind of how we are today. The tough guys, people who push other people around physically, don't win in the long run. We know that. That's just not the way to make a better world. It's not the way to make a better world for your own people, to be tough, to push others around. And it's definitely not the American way. We have a statue standing in the middle of the harbor in New York City that's there to embrace those from other lands, all types of ethnic and religious leanings. And for someone like any presidential candidate to come along and say it's okay to kill innocent victims, it's not okay, and that just makes everything worse. And we constantly hear this. We hear this from now people who we are being put on trial, who've left the United States or left European countries and gone and joined ISIS. What are they saying? Why did they join? Because they gave up on our way of life, and because they've seen that what we teach, we're saying violence is the answer. So we're encouraging people to turn to violence.
So
Violence begets violence. There's no question about it.
And do you believe that they really want to end the so-called terrorism? And I say so-called terrorist because
no, they don't want to end it.
Right, they don't want to.
No, if they want to end it, the way to end it is to create a better world. People don't become terrorists. And that's the best way. And that, there's exceptions. There's crazy people. There'll always be a Jack the Ripper. There'll always be rapists. There'll always be people with screws loose in their head. But they don't get big followings. They don't get hundreds of people. And in fact, thousands of people going from countries like European countries and the United States to join an insane movement unless people are terribly desperate. All those people aren't crazy.
Right.
Right. Any more than our presidential candidates are crazy. And maybe we're all crazy. but we know that the way to end war is not by killing innocent civilians. That makes everybody angry. We know that the way to end war is not by occupying other countries. Imagine if people were occupying this country. How would we react if there were drones flying over us right now and threatening my grandson and my daughter? Damn well no, I'd go to war with it. Whoever was doing that, I wouldn't care who they were. If they were threatening my kids, I'd be incensed. I'd go to war.
Right. We're all human beings. Everybody is gonna. It's a normal response. Right. You have I actually consider this to be a sort of a form of torture, because in torture, they use nature against the person being tortured. You're literally pushed right up against nature, and they use natural law, so to speak, or nature's limits, the limits of the body, against the person to torture them. And I kind of feel like this is sort of along the same lines. What kind of a response can you expect people to do? And then when they do it, right, they're the criminal or they're the terrorist.
Catherine, there is one thing though that I think we need to be clear on, and that is the situation today. ISIS is based on territory. ISIS is claiming to be a caliphate, claiming to be a nation. It needs physical territory. It's very unfortunate that it's got to the situation it's gotten to, and a large reason it has is because of the war we've been waging on the Muslim Brotherhood, on the Taliban, on Al Qaeda, and so now along comes a new force. And there may be a good argument that needs to be made that if we take away the territory from ISIS, that'll end ISIS. But that won't end the problem, and we may need to do that. I would actually make the argument that we in the United States don't need to do that because the Russians will do it. Because ISIS is a huge threat to Russia, much greater than to us. ISIS is not on our border, but it is on Russia's border. I believe that Putin will put an end to ISIS if we just let it. We don't need to be there. But beyond that comes the bigger issue of doing away with desperation. And climate change, which is causing huge problems. Immigration problems. A lot of that's because the climates are changing so much. It's disturbing for me to see that the recent poll of Republicans, the number one concern of theirs was terrorism. Well, the number one concern of all of us should be climate change, and that's going to cause more terrorism. It's going to cause more immigration problems. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. Our freshwater lakes across the world, on average, are getting warmer by 0.5 degree Celsius every 10 years. That's scary. So we need to do away with the cosmos beneath the surface And in the case of ISIS, ISIS is a symptom, and maybe ISIS needs to be done away. I mean, and I think that's a fairly simple one. Take away their territory. That's not going to solve the Al Qaeda problem, though, or the Taliban problem, or the Muslim Brotherhood problem, or the immigrations problems. Those need to be addressed by changing our attitude toward the world and going from a death economy to a life economy. And let's let the Russians take care of ISIS, because I believe they will, if we just let them.
I have a couple of points to make, and I'm kind of glad you brought up climate change, because that was one of the questions and points I wanted to bring up that I didn't write down. But so during the COP21 in Paris on Democracy Now, when she was interviewing a couple of speakers from over there, one thing I noticed a number of times, while interviewing different people, they kept, I feel, contradicting themselves. And I'm not trying to split hairs here, but I feel like if you don't really look close and call things what it is, we're never gonna get to change anything. And so a few speakers, like they'll be talking about climate change and how we need to the 1.2 degrees Celsius or whatever it is that they're shooting for is not nearly enough. And then they'll talk about the advanced countries need to do their share, and the rich countries that need to do their share. And I just kept thinking to myself, that doesn't make any sense, because it's like by admitting climate change, you're admitting what has real value. The earth, nature, water, and the thing that's creating that destruction is our monetary system. I mean, you can't call the environment and the earth wealthy and then call the monetary system and those who have kind of rigged the system in their favor wealthy and advanced. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And
so calling real wealth nature and things that come from nature, and we've people have been so conditioned wrongly to thinking that this money that man creates out of thin air is the real wealth, when that's the fake wealth that's actually destroying real wealth.
Well, that's true. That's predatory capitalism. That's the death economy. We've created a situation where our value system is based on things that ravage the earth. That's a pretty ultimately self-sacrificial value system. It means that we're going to drive ourselves as a species into extinction if we continue with that.
Exactly.
But it's the philosophy that we created. And it did a great deal, it accomplished a great deal for, many years. Amazing science, amazing technology, amazing music, amazing art. But it's gone too far. And we must understand that and turn it around.
I wanted to ask you, you just recently returned from a trip.
Yeah, that's the way.
You take a group of people a couple of times a year to places like Guatemala and Ecuador, to introduce them to indigenous people and a more indigenous life and being closer to nature.
Right.
And I'm bringing that up because of this whole be tough. Oh, we gotta be tough. We gotta be tough. And there's no compassion. Where's the peace? I mean, right? How does being tough solve problems? Like you said, it doesn't. I mean, war does not solve problems. And so you're trying to actually, by taking people on these trips, get them more in touch with being closer to nature and away from our current monetary disaster capitalism way.
Well, this last trip was in Colombia, where we met with 19 people on the trip. with the Kogi people who, during the Spanish conquest, they finally just gave up on being brutalized by the conquistadores and moved high up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, which is a mountain range that runs along the Caribbean coast. And it's a very high mountain range. Some of the mountains go up to 19,000 feet. Big glaciers that are melting, that are vanishing fast. You can see 6 big rivers. These Kogi people went up there and stayed there and just wouldn't have anything to do with the outside world until about 20 years ago, when they got a very strong message from their shamans that they are the elder brother. They're mature, they understand what it takes to survive on this planet and create a space where their children can survive. And that we in the North are the younger brother who are very immature and don't understand that we have to take care of the nest that we created, that we live in. And so at that point, they made the decision to come down and start teaching about what it is to have peace, to have not just be sustainable, but in fact, at this point, we have to be regenerative. It's not going to be enough to be sustainable. We've got to regenerate destroyed environments. And so, to this group of people, we spent time meeting with the Kogi, who live very basic, what we call primitive lives up in the mountains, and yet have an amazing understanding of what it's going to take to turn things around, like many other indigenous cultures. The Maya people of Central America have come to understand that too. The Quechua of South America, the Andes, and the Amazonian people. People around the world are getting it. And it seems to me that the only people who aren't getting it are the ones who benefit from continuing to create a death economy, which is tearing up the earth, mining, exploiting, digging, drilling, and killing others. War, the destruction through war, which makes a lot of people very, very wealthy. Right. That's what war is really about. It makes a lot of people really wealthy. They make fortunes by destroying lands and killing people, and then they make more fortunes by repairing the damages they've done, rebuilding the cities that have been destroyed. It's an old tactic that goes back millennia.
So I'm just going to mention 2 last sort of current events, and then I guess we'll wrap it up. Just recently, in the Freddie Gray case, the jury was locked in as far as holding William Porter, one of the officers, accountable. And then the other thing was these 13 Black women that were raped by this officer Holtzclaw, and who got away with it for some time and actually ended up raping half of them while he was being investigated for other rapes. And and how it's just basically the system is so imbalanced. I wanted to just bring up this guy who was talking. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember his name. I had it flew out of my head. Benjamin Jealous. He was on Democracy Now! And just saying how it's promising this deadlocked jury, and how holding police accountable is just so rare that we have to look at this little step, towards holding them accountable, like it's progress. And I really kind of don't agree with that at all, because it shows the system is so imbalanced, and those in power are just completely above being held accountable, that moving just a millimeter towards holding them accountable is not nearly enough, kind of like climate change.
Well, yes, and it goes back to your talk about toughness too, the idea that police have to be tough, and that the answer to homelessness, even the answer to beggars on the street, is to be tough. It's interesting, Catherine. I've been a martial artist most of my life, and I've studied under some remarkable martial artists. And the teachings always are never use martial arts to try to convince anybody of anything, because force doesn't convince anybody of anything. You may subjugate them, you may make them slaves without just making them angry. You might kill them, but that doesn't solve the problem. Just get rid of the person. Martial arts is only used in the very last resort to protect yourself, or to convince people that they're not going to succeed by trying to push you around. And I think that's a very good lesson for all of us. That toughness, when it's used aggressively, is known as bullying. And a lot of what we're seeing in the police forces these days is bullying. A lot of what we're seeing in our own military and our government is bullying. It's not what Trump is talking about is not toughness. He's talking about being a bully.
Right. It isn't real toughness, exactly.
No, real toughness means you're willing to take punches too. You're willing to understand that there may be risks. We don't want to have a police state. To be tough, you got to say, we're not going to have a police state. I understand that may mean that a few people may, maybe there'll be a few bombs going off someplace. Maybe there'll be crazy people setting off bombs, like that guy who did it at that building in the Southwest many years ago. He didn't belong to Al-Qaeda or anything for his name, but he was just crazy. But tough means, okay, we're willing to do that, but we're not going to sacrifice our freedoms. We're not going to sacrifice the very fundamentals of what our country stands for. And that's being tough.
And I wanted to thank you for bringing up the martial arts aspect of it, because that's the reason why I turned at an early age to fitness, meditation, and yoga in the early 80s, because fitness and yoga and meditation are the answer. I mean, it teaches you, conflict resolution. It teaches you to do things the way that nature does it, with balance. Like, true toughness is balance. It's balancing the hard and the soft. I mean, that's what yoga is all about, like doing things with nature. And I actually wanted to ask you if you knew Nico Peled, because he's he runs on the same thing. He learned martial arts also when he was in the IDF, and then compared the IDF to the philosophy of martial arts, and saw that, the IDF, it's like, right, it's just fake toughness. It's just bravado, and that the martial arts actually is true fitness and toughness.
Right.
And so, okay, where can people find your articles? Are now on Democracy Chronicles.
Right, and Huffington Post, and go to johnperkins.org. I got a brand new website, which I'm very proud of and happy with. And sign up for my newsletter. It's there. You can just put your email in the box and sign up. And also, my new book comes out February 9th. It's already available to order on Amazon or wherever people order books. And yeah, by all means, please go to my website and sign up at johnperkins.org and sign up for the website and blog.
Thank you very much, John Perkins.
Thank you, Catherine. Keep up your good work.
I'm trying.
All right.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Okay, that was it for this Tuesday, December the 22nd, 2015, Organic News on Awake Radio. Next Tuesday will be the final one of 2015, and hopefully the recorded interview that I'm supposed to be doing tomorrow morning with John Perkins and the former finance minister of Greece, Yanis Varoufakis, the two of them together in the same interview next Tuesday. Please visit the Awake Radio YouTube channel, Awake Radio #1 with no spaces. Please support this radio station, or you're just going to get genetically modified news. Thank you, and happy holiday.